Miriam Balanescu is a writer based in Cambridgeshire who is interested in the borders between prose and poetry. She's had stories published in Strand, Streetcake, and the Airgonaut, and longlisted for the Alpine Fellowship. Her current project, a prose-poetic novel exploring the forgotten work of Romanian-Jewish authors of the 20th century, was shortlisted for the TLC Pen Factor Competition, the Jewish Book Week Emerging Writer Award, and longlisted for the Moniack Mhor Emerging Writer Award. Aside from writing stories in her spare time, Miriam writes about film and books for BBC Culture, The Economist and The Guardian. She is mentored by Katri Scala. Please welcome her to the stage.
Can you hear me all right? Oh, hello. I'm going to read the forenote and opening from my novel Book of Minutes, which is about a young woman navigating life as a second-generation immigrant. The novel on the page is kind of broken up by timestamps, but I think that might be a bit confusing to read, so I'm going to leave those out. But if I pause, it's probably to indicate a jump in time. It is often said that, unlike other countries such as Germany, the Romanian nation has a collective amnesia when it comes to the darker corners of its journey to the present day. For many, even the survivors of this troubled history, the true details of this story have been forgotten. Of 757,000 Jews living in Romania in 1930 before World War II, roughly half, 370,000, survived Marshal Antonescu's 1941 to 1944 Nazi sympathizing regime. Some say the violence of Romania's Holocaust was second only to Germany's, though even after massacres, mob brutality, and botched deportations during this period, by 1947, Romania was still home to the largest Jewish population in southeastern Europe. But then Romanian fascism gave way to communism. From 1948, over 250,000 Jews were sent to Israel in exchange for money paid to the Romanian authorities, a deal dubbed the ransom of the Jews. The exact amount earned by Ceausescu's government through this deportation is not known, but it climbed to hundreds of millions of dollars. The deal was secretly organized by leader Georgiu Jej and later Ceausescu and his Securitate, resulting in a plethora of classified documents, meaning records at this time, up until Ceausescu's infamous execution on 25th December 1989, are scarce. Only around 8,000 Jewish people remain living in the country today. As Romania's Jewish communities emptied, those not headed for Israel simply left for elsewhere. Anonymous umbrellas, red and blue, silver rain soldering the pavement cracks, a spilt mess of light on the floor and passers-by stepping in it, on their leather shoes, on the hems of their trousers, on their fingers. At this time, the Strand is childless and, for the most part, womanless, removed as far as possible from its yellow days of giggling children ducking around fountains. Instead, this is winter, and a night so thick it sticks to shoulders, up to the lanterns and the beads dropping down to the yolk, volcanic yellow, white drooling over the lip of a bowl into flour. Is there such a thing as a perfect sphere? Earth is cracked and boiling, the woman hums. Pangaea, her fingers coated in dough, she sings like her mum did. I long to hear you and hear your rolling river, playing the part. Your roaming waters, way, we're bound away. Beyond the sink window, cows stir up the dust with their hooves and exhale tubular, ashy clouds, kneading sayings together, along with flour and water, yoking together. We've gone back 16 years, crossed an ocean. On the radio, she hears brass playing, Bill Clinton's twanging, self-loving voice saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much, thank you. The TV is on too, muted, hands spinning around a clock, a presenter's mugshot, and the headlines crawling, caterpillar-like, along the bottom. Almost exactly a month before, the logo for Fox News had flickered across screens for the first time. A blizzard and several other disasters constantly threaten to wrap their hands around people's homes. In her kitchen, the woman is finishing up before she needs to head out. For a moment, she imagines an embryo, curved like a raindrop. First almost solid, it trembles as if hesitating before it splits. Night yokes to the shoulders of the crowd, dragging along until dawn. Ada's umbrella is unfurled even though there is no rain here under the arch to Somerset House. Those passing fix their eyes on her as they weave by, seeming to discern that she is in that embarrassing situation of being alone. She isn't meeting anyone, although that's what she's pretending. She closes her eyes and thinks of the panoramic view in each raindrop, each round as a clock face. Ada is 17. She considers her own life to be at the stage where it is waiting to be upended, but requires an external force. Every stranger holds a kind of unfledged possibility. Each time a person walks by, she feels she has lost something. She opens her eyes. A woman ambles by, her bags emblazoned with F&M and Harrods, shops that Ada has not been given permission to go inside. We're not kings and queens, her parents would say. The woman has orange suede gloves, hair cut so that it falls around her face in separate willowy strands. Ada has the strange feeling of looking too long in the mirror or catching her inky reflection in a bus window before it's gone. The woman slips into the crowd, sand tugged through the hourglass. Rose walls, magazine pages turned until wrinkled and no longer glossy. Playpen in the corner, primary red, yellow, and blue. Ada's mother and father sit in the waiting room, worrying about the time. Not worrying about what they thought they would be worrying about, which is how Ada is going to be born. Concerns at the forefront of their minds include whether the hob was left on, how many days off work they've got after this, if she'd remembered to iron his ties, is this hair gel too much? The father says, bit inconsiderate to put kid stuff in here. The mother says, I know, sweetheart. A faint whistle from the father's lips, leaning his elbows against his knees, knocking his head absent-mindedly with his knuckle. Ada's mother sits tight, clasping her hands together, pinning her eyes to the door where the doctor is soon to emerge. 42 minutes later, one with a clipboard strolls into the waiting room and says, Mr. Fetter and Mrs. Dimitri. The father says, Dimitrescu. Yes, the doctor says. Right this way. So, do you have any idea how you want to do this? They look at each other, holding each other's gaze, trying to read what's in it, trying to read what the other wants, while this stranger keeps watching. They really should have talked about this beforehand. The father looks away first. Well, we still want me to be the father, he says. Whatever you decide, you'll both still be the parents, the doctor says. It's important to remember that. Glass is a strange material. The way it crushes under her feet into powder, but still holds fiercely onto its sharp edges. The way it gives in so easily under stress, though formerly so assured of its own shape. The way its body undoes itself unevenly, its infant pieces betraying no pattern of breakage. The way it slings light indiscriminately at her. She sees a flash of herself in one of the fragments, as if the glass were using her own eye to gaze back at her. There's a DVD slotted between the books in her mother's cabinet, a film where a woman, the plot seems strange to her now, returns home having had surgery to reconstruct her face. It's after the war, she's survived a camp, and all that's left of the street where she lived is rubble, clods of brick, and diamond showers of glass. She takes a few steps, then, in a stray piece of shattered mirror, sees herself, her own bandaged face holding her stare. Ada, her father says. His voice sounds quieter now, limp, fragile. Is this an imagined memory? No, it's still sharp. It comes back to Ada like something slicing through her thoughts, filling up the front of her mind. She remembers feeling it nudging through her sock first, then watching the pool of shards keenly for a while. Was he crying? No. His voice so distant, as if she is hearing him through the blue curtains to another world. She stands there only able to look down, thinking how strange glass is. She can't remember exactly when she knew, but eventually it became a kind of fact of life. She can't remember how she came to know or who told her, or if anyone even told her at all. She also didn't really know what it meant. All that she has are flat, handed-down images of gas masks and shaved heads and buckle shoes and pinstripe patterns, spoon-fed visions from school textbooks and films they were forced to watch in class, things that felt cold and human, so overtold that they have almost entered the fictional realm. Unpleasant things, unthinkable things, things that she couldn't connect in any way with herself. It became easier to keep it to herself. Don't mention it. You would never know how the listener would react and how to navigate their reaction. A secret fact of life. A locked door history, easier to keep sealed up and walk past every day and see out of the corner of your eye and not even think about most of the time at all, but still standing there, heavy and unmovable as oak. Thank you.